Hello there, Pamela.
Hey Ron, how you doing?
Good, good. How was the Bugs conference?
Very excellent. It was great. Yeah, learned a lot and met a lot of people and got some things working and cooking because of it. It was wonderful.
Good, good, good. What stage are you at in developing your cooperative? So are you still at the organizational stage?
For Black Farmers United, we're still at the like me and Joanne are working at it, so we're still organizing it for our group.
All right. How's it work coming along thus far?
Well, I'll tell you what, this class is helping a lot, so that's for sure. We're just plugging away at it.
Miss James, where are you located?
We're in Buffalo, New York, but we have our organization, Black Farmers United New York State, is throughout New York State. And our goal is to organize some co-ops within our Black Farmers Network, and that's what we're working on.
Oh, okay. Is there a particular crop that, or is it just a combination of items?
Well, actually, we have some of our Black farmers, they have CSAs already, and then we
Mhm.
want to combine some of them, and then some of them are in the hemp, into great raising hemp and
Mm-hmm.
various other products. So we're working, Joanne that's on here and I, and we're working towards, helping, to organize through our Black Farmers United with the information that we're learning here. So I'm just glad to be here. And I thank God for Ron.
I agree. That's great. Yeah, thank you, Ron. This has been most beneficial for me as well.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that. Pamela, Pamela,
Yes, I'm here.
yeah, we're working with a group in Rochester, New York right now.
Yeah, I think you're working with Antonisha.
Mm,
No,
no, not Tanisha. She's not in Rochester, is she?
or
No,
I think
she's
she's
in
in Syracuse. I
Syracuse.
think she's in Syracuse. Yeah, that's right, Syracuse. Yeah, I get them mixed up.
Yeah, but we're working with a group in Rochester. And so we're hosting a cooperative one-on-one session on the 16th, next Saturday.
Thank you for letting me know.
You should have gotten an email.
I don't recall seeing it, but like I have a million emails and I will look. I will look at just for that.
Okay. Well, let me know if you got it. And if you didn't get it, no one else on here got it because everybody should be loaded up in our database.
ginger.
Well, we're going to get started. I've asked that you unmute yourselves this evening because I want this session to be interactive among us. So I ask that you unmute yourselves and that you plan to be engaged. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to go through the list of generally list of to-dos around speaking and not speaking. I think that everybody has that under their belt. I would like to, excuse me, share with everybody that we are hosting a financial management workshop on December the 20th. It'll be in person. So if you do know anyone that's in the area that's interested in learning about financial management, certainly you can share this flyer with them. Again, it's on December the 20th from 12 to 2 p.m. And it'll be at our Ella Baker's Women's Business Center located at 4115 Frederick Avenue in Baltimore, Maryland. Well, we're about 3 sessions away from ending this session. And so we're working now on our Spring 25 Black CoopNomics Academy. We're going to have some different workshops that we're doing. And so we're planning to have a robust session in the spring of 25. And I ask that if you do know anyone that you know that probably didn't get in this session, certainly you want to share with them that we have online now the open application for the spring 25 Co-op Academy. All right. Social media contacts. Well, you can reach us through Facebook, www.facebook.com, or LinkedIn through www.linkedin.com, or Instagram, which is www.instagram.com, and YouTube. If you're not gone to the YouTube page, we're posting all these sessions on YouTube. So not only that you get them, but also too you can share them with your other colleagues as well. All right, Academy feedback. Ooh, would it be nice if I got everybody to respond to this? But nevertheless, we need you to go in and from my first session up until up until Taji, right, Amani, last week. So you have about 10 sessions, about 9 sessions that you can give your academy feedback on. So I hope that you take a moment, catch up to us, and give us your feedback on the sessions. As I shared with you earlier, this feedback that you're giving us is really critical and holds a critical space for us because it gives us a chance to measure what we're doing, how we do what we're doing, and if we can do it better. And our goal is always to be best at what we do. So your feedback is critically important to that assessment. All right. Well, tonight I am your presenter. So I need not say much about myself, only that I've been working in this space of community development for about 40 years. I started out in DC working for a nonprofit that worked with the District of Columbia in terms of the tenant right of first refusal law, and that cooperative was engaged with the city contractually to guide tenant groups through the process of acquiring their buildings and convert them into cooperatives. So I started out learning about housing cooperatives and being engaged in that work. And then from there on, I dwelled in a little development for a period of time. I developed some co-ops as well as some single family homes in the district and in Baltimore. Um, as of 2014, I started this organization, the Network for Developing Conscious Community, which really, it's been a real wonderful experience to date. I've met so many wonderful people such as yourselves who engage in this space of elevating the consciousness around Black community development in all aspects, whether it's health, whether it's the cultural arts, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's small business, whether it's cooperative work. All these tentacles are really important to elevating the work around Black community development. So I've been blessed to have met you and shared the space with you. All right. So, uh, so, so before I get started, and this session is about grant writing. And so I want to know, that's why I asked you to unmute yourselves. Who here is consider themselves proficient in grant writing? All right.
I write a
Well,
lot of grants.
huh?
I write a lot of grants.
Okay, Rick. Okay, great, great, great. Is there anyone else who does a lot of grant writing?
Well, I do write grants. I can say we win some, we lose some. You know, we've lost a lot of them, we won a lot of them, but I don't know whether that's proficiency or not, but I've written grants.
Hey, in this grant writing scenario, you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. Hopefully, the goal is to win more than you lose.
I'm with you, Pam. I've co-authored plenty of grants, but there's always room for learning more. So,
Okay, all right. Good way to look at it, Carolyn. All right. Well, does anyone consider themselves a in the middle of the road grant writer, sort of intermediate grant writer? So I might assume that everybody else is just hasn't explored grant writing as a tool to raise money for your organizations or the work that you're doing.
I'm a wannabe grant writer. I've taken a couple of classes, but I don't have I have no reason to write any. So, I guess I
Or
could
you have someone
volunteer
writing them for
someplace.
you?
No, I don't. I do taxes, so we make our own money. So we're not really looking for that kind
Okay.
of infusion. Yeah.
All right.
But I'd volunteer if I knew people that really wanted somebody. But I'm a newbie.
Okay. All right, Marie.
I'm a newbie too. And I've I've won grants, so with my co-writing, but I'm still a baby at it, still learning.
Well, it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the better off you get with, the better you get with it. And so it comes to just getting in the space of learning what funders are looking for, how to describe your work, and then again, we'll go through this following some of the guidelines they put down in terms of the grant applications. Yeah. All right. Well, good. Well, so it seems like most of you have little or no grant writing experience, and some of you have what I consider a lot of grant writing experience. So good. So let me Okay, let me get started. Let me. Okay, can anybody see this? See this?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, great, great. So our agenda this evening is gonna take us to introducing the introduction about grants, requests for proposals, RFPs, or unsolicited proposals. Then we'll discuss pre-grant writing, solicited proposals, and unsolicited proposals. All right. So requests for proposals, RFPs, unsolicited proposals, and grants. What's what? Grants solicited and unsolicited proposals. Grants are normally an online application. First step is to evaluate organization's eligibility. Solicited proposals are initiated by a foundation, federal agency, or private entity. Response to a work statement, request for a proposal, RFP, or request for applications. Has anyone ever done a grant application online?
Yes, I have.
Yes,
Oh, now,
yes.
I need y'all to be interactive now.
Yes.
All right, Ricky, all right. Yeah. So what have you found about doing grant applications online? Is there any nuances that you uncovered?
Well, I think
There's
the
some,
best ones are the ones where you can download the questions before you actually do the application.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and there are some portals that once they have your information, your basic information, and what you do, you can save it to the portal. So therefore, like you can always, like when you get back online, it will just automatically fill in some of the information for you, which helps you to move forward after they know the type of work that you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're going through a portal, sometimes it saves your information. So when you go back again to apply for another grant, it automatically uploads your information in the application.
That's what I said, Ron. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how about solicited proposals? Anyone gone after a RFP or RFA?
I have.
Is that you, Rick?
Yeah, that's Rick.
Uh-huh.
So
So you like to share your
Sure,
experience
sure.
going after the RSP?
Yeah, so I do a lot of for USDA grants
Oh, okay.
for my job. And so I wait for these to come out and then I go when I get the announcement, I go to it and I look at it and see if my ideas fit what they're saying, or maybe I can make my ideas fit what they're saying, if you know what I mean.
Mm,
And and then I talk to the program manager and and I tell them what I'm thinking about and does it fit, and they will often help you. Um, they will often guide you to what to write a good proposal, or to put in the things that they are more interested in funding, and to tell you the things that they're less interested in funding. But they won't read your proposal. But it's good to talk to them to get them to know who you are and
mm,
recognize your name.
yeah. I think that is so critically important. Getting familiar with the grantor and having them to get familiar with who you are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And fit is really important. Fitting what you're doing to what they want to fund. That's really critical, and making sure that when you write it, they understand what you want to do. I mean, I'm with the person who said I've been rejected a lot more than I've been successful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, usually solicited proposals are very competitive. Um, More so than the grants, but grant applications, but they're really competitive.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
agree.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to introduction strategy, donor expectations. Um, Gifts are an investment. So when you're getting gifts from anyone, particularly a donor, it's an investment in your project, investment in your program. But also it means that you have to connect to what is meaningful to the donor. So you tie program financials directly to your impact outcomes, for donor expectations, and for donor nonprofit relationships, you develop strong connections with funding sources. You provide information, social media posts, survey polls, and brochures, and branding, podcasts, social media platforms, testimonials. These things help to strengthen your presence with a donor. And so you want to develop a relationship with the donor. And so you want to share with them what you're doing, how you're doing what you're doing, whether it's a social media post, or surveys, or it's polls, or maybe a brochure. Maybe you have some social media videoing that you're doing that you can share out with testimonials from people who've participated in your project or your program. These are all important items, when it comes to developing a donor relationship. With nonprofit business development marketing, successful funding is directly linked to a marketing team or business strategies. Resources and roles to support organizations' funding needs and donor foundation target goals. But with all that said, you need to know your customer. So you need to do your business app and intelligence. How many of you have done some business intelligence in terms of researching who you are expecting to bring on as a donor, or who you're expecting to submit an application to or respond to RFP? Well, let me ask this question. Why is business intelligence important then? Why is it important to have some intelligence about who you are looking at securing as a donor, who you're looking at applying for a grant to, or solicitation to RFP? Why is it important?
First of all, if you have a relationship with some of the people and understand what they're looking for, you can write, like, if you write a grant and it's not based on the criteria, it's like you're wasting your time. They're not going to read it. And if they read it, they won't read it for long because your request is not based on what they fund. That's one of the first things. And then two, it would help to have them understand you too. Like I just had a huge meeting with grantors. A lot of them like to meet you and come to your sites and see what you do so they can get a feel of who you are as well. So that way, that's one way to build a relationship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one of the misnomers about being a 501c3 is that automatically, once you get your designation, that you're going to open this a window for a lot of opportunity to come your way, which is not true. You have to build relationships with individuals, and that starts with getting some business knowledge about who you're looking at targeting. You don't want to target a organization that deals with small business and have a youth proposal that you send to them. That's not consistent with what they're funding. So what Pam said was really important to know who you're funding, who you're expecting to receive funding from, and how you need to approach them. A lot of the pages on the funders pages, they do have testimonials now. They're good for putting testimonials out there from previous grantors, and then they put on their sites. A lot of them now post previous grantors who received funding from them, so you get a chance to again get some more intelligence about what they're funding, how they're funding their activities, which will give you some insight in terms of whether or not you feel that it's a good fit for you. All right. And in the communication aspect, you just got to tailor your communication, your product and services to meet the needs of your donor or your funder or the RFP. All right. All right. Pre-grant writing. It's suggested that you read the application at least 3 times before you respond to it. Evaluate your eligibility. That's the first thing that you want to do. Evaluate the eligibility, because they're going to tell you what the eligibility criteria is. If you need a 501c3, a letter, if it's a fiduciary sponsor, if they require audits, if they require tax returns, if they require income expense statements, whatever the eligibility criteria is, you need to understand that and know that. Because if you don't meet the criteria, the eligibility criteria, there's no sense in pursuing the opportunity. All right. Username and company profile. You know, certainly stating your legal name on the grant application, whether you're 501c3 or you're 51 or if you're 501c3 C6, the year the grant application was founded, taxpayer reporting number, your EIN number, or your TIN number. User director or board directors are the primary contacts. And federal grant making agency require that all grant applicants have a DUNS number. Does anybody knows what a DUNS number is?
No.
All right. Has anyone ever applied for a DUNS number?
Yes, I have a DUNS number. It's your like business credit number.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Some grant applications, depending on the locality to which you're applying, may ask for congressional districts. So it's important that you know your congressional district. And if it's a local funding, maybe they ask for your councilmatic district.
Don't they also care like like if you have constituency where they're located, where their districts are?
Well,
You know,
some
like
may require that as
who you
well.
serve,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Like who you serve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of grant applications now use the term underserved communities. And so, yeah, so they tried to, so now they're looking at targeting the least of the cohorts that have the least opportunity for economic sustainability. So they now are targeting underserved populations, underserved communities. But these are just a few of the checklist items that you'll find on a grant application. There've been numerous ones as well. So that's why it's important to go through the eligibility and find out what exactly are they looking for.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So you had the 501c3 and 6 on there.
Yes.
And we had an issue with the 501c4. Not that we couldn't give them the money, but it was just more complicated. But I was wondering about cooperatives more specifically, because it seems like the grants that are for nonprofits aren't really the same ones that are for cooperatives.
Depending how the cooperative is formalized. Because you do have some cooperatives that operate as a 501c3. And then you have others operate as LLCs. And depending on the state that you're in, will govern what structure, organizational structure, your cooperative is.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question. So materials gathered before you respond to checklists of mission statement, strategic plan, customize the organization description. These are all the things that you want to make sure that you're aligned with as you proceed forward with going through the checklist to make sure that you have everything in the, most likely they're going to ask about your mission statement. Most, not all will ask whether or not you have a strategic plan. And of course, you have to just customize the organization description to articulate who you are, when you founded, what the composition of your board is. All those things go into customize the organization description. All right. Again, relationships matter. So building a relationship with a funder is really, really so critical. All right. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, let me go through this one here. Hold up. Right. Okay. 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 You want to comprise an executive summary for anything that you do, whether the grant application, whether RFP. You want to put together executive summary. Now, what does executive summary do? Well, it summarizes, is a summary of what your project is. It summarizes your experience. It may tell a little bit about your history. All right. You may want to speak to, in the executive summary, what kind of monetary funding are you looking to get from this organization that you're looking at pursuing? All right. So that's really summarizes all that in terms of who you are, why you funding, why you're asking, give a description of your board composition, give a description of your organizational history. So all that can go into your executive summary. And you don't want to make your executive summary so long that it's unreadable. And unreadable, I mean, by so long that the reader gets lost in the sauce and sort of dismisses your proposal because your executive summary is so long. So, but you want to make sure it's concise, to the point, and covering at least what they ask of you. Any questions around that?
I would just add that a lot
Go
of
ahead, Rick.
a lot of executive summaries have a word limit.
Okay, thank
Which
you.
really can help. And when I have my best executive summaries is when I write it over and over and over again, and then I have other people read it.
Thank you, Rick, for bringing that up, because you need to have another set of eyes on whatever you do. Have another set of eyes review it, because that's important. Because you can be in a writing mode so often that you, and so intensely that you overlook the little nuances. Maybe a word here or a phrase here. So certainly, once you have gathered your grant application together, have someone look over it that can give you an objective opinion. Yeah, Pam.
Yeah, one thing that grantors will do you a favor with helping you to write it by, they will have a webinar about some of the grants, like, and that way you can even ask them questions about certain things pertaining to the grant, so you can be specific about like how to write the grant and what they're looking for, whether you're eligible. In that webinar, a lot of times you're able to ask questions that might be obscure to you, but then again, those nuances that we're talking about, they can be cleared up in those webinars sometimes.
Yeah. Ramona, you want to say something?
I want to ask a question. Rick, do you write a new executive summary every grant, or do you take one that you've already written and sort of make it fit the grant that you're seeking?
Well, go ahead, Rick. You want to ask it?
Yeah. What did you ask me, or did Ron?
No.
I did ask Rick, but I don't mind who answers the question because I don't know.
It depends. I would use pieces of it. I
Yeah.
usually write, and let you know, okay, so sometimes I get rejected. Well, a lot of times I get rejected. And then the next time I try to answer the criticisms, and I resubmit. And when I do that, the executive summary changes a little bit. But
Okay.
if it's a different RFA for a different program, then I write a different summary.
So would you start from okay, I guess that's my question. I should have
Yeah,
asked.
I would try to be. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I would try to use pieces.
Okay.
And but make sure that I'm being accurate with what I'm saying regarding what I plan to do, and then also what they want, so I don't say the wrong things. And then, like someone earlier said, they won't read it at that point.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Yeah, I think what Rick is certainly hitting on something that you want to, you don't want to start a completely new executive summary every time you do a grant, but you do want to extrapolate some pieces of it into out of your old one into your new one.
Okay,
Yeah, like your history. Your history, unless it changed drastically over a period of time, then your history probably be the same. Now, if you've done some things in the interim that brought new attention to your organization, then you want to incorporate that in your history as well. Mm-hmm.
okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So in grant writing, there's a project summary, there's executive summary. Grant is focused, output driven, intermediate, long term, discriminated, and differentiation, and experience and performance. You want to make sure that you have certainly put in a problem statement, because what you're attempting to do is support the fact that you are applying for this funding to address a problem. All right. What is the central concern of the problem? It could be easily a youth project that says that we're addressing the unemployment of youth in the city of Syracuse. We're planning to bring education to them so that they can become more knowledgeable in terms of what they're doing. Something in there, just something in nature. But you get what I'm saying. You want to just make sure that you accent on what the central concern is. Mm-hmm. And link the problem to the funder's objectives. So if their objectives are to deal with youth, then certainly your problem would have to be one where you're addressing some concerns around youth or health or wealth building.
Ron,
Yeah, go ahead.
so in North Carolina, and if there is a phrase that identifies your county, for instance, I'm in rural North Carolina, and the communities that we serve are identified as tier one counties. And a lot of grantors automatically know when you describe the area that you're trying to impact as a tier one county, it comes with it being low wealth, um, uh, homelessness, the education level, all of those different factors that identifies that location as that tier one county. And that's usually one of those, if you can find those keywords that grantors can relate to, that meets their strategic plan as well.
Mm. Yeah, those descriptors.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in many of your areas, there may be something similar to what Carol's experiencing. There may be a descriptor where your local grant funder is already defined what the community is.
And sometimes, even if you look at documentation, just to have an understanding of what the strategic plan in terms of economic development, sometimes you can catch some of the terminology that they'll use in their strategic plans, and then you can see how it's applicable in other situations that also will be attractive to a grantor. Because
Yeah.
I've done things like with Kate B. Reynolds and resourceful communities, and they are specific about, as you said, underserved communities is one of those key identifiers. Ours is tier 1 counties. So if you can get to know some of the terminology that's used within that space of where grantors are able to quickly connect to your executive summary in those terms of identifying that audience that you're trying to impact.
So in grant writing, we start off with the project summary, executive summary, same thing, the problem statement, and then we outline the missions, the goals, and objectives. And what part of the mission, goals, and objectives will the proposal meet? That's where you really now begin to tie it all together. So again, I share this here that, grant writing, in even as far as responding to RFP, it's a skill that's developed over time. You're not going to get it right all the time, but you try to learn from your errors so that you can improve on the next grant opportunity that comes along. Sometimes you get fortunate and get through the first time. Sometimes you can't get fortunate enough to have your grant application approved the first time. But then if it doesn't, then take it as a learning experience. All right. Okay. In the project description, who, what, when, where, and how. The goals describe the actions you intend to take and the outcomes you hope to achieve. The objective is decomposing goals into specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant, and time smart. That's the smart part about doing a grant application and project. Then you want to go to implementation stage, step-by-step approach to carrying out the project. Then you want to deal with sustainability, demonstrate how the project can continue to produce outcomes until the end or after funding. And this you'll find that a lot of grant applications will ask you this question: how do you plan on continuing the project once funding is over? It may seem like a simple question, but it's a really difficult question when you're looking at what available resources that you may have available to you, or what available resources that aren't available to you. How you plan on continuing on the project if once the funding is gone away. Outcomes. You want to discuss how you track and measure outcomes. Performance, because that's something that all grantors want to know. Your outcomes, your performance, your achievements, your deliverables. How you plan to track the project? How are you going to measure your goals, your outcomes, and through what statistics? Surveys. Measured success, grantor satisfaction. Can you reapply for the grant? Community outcomes realized, and schedule. So measure success, you want to put the schedule together or a work plan in some sense, what you hope to achieve and hope to achieve over a period of time. Whether the grants are 6 months or 12 months or maybe 2 years, you might want to put together a work plan in terms of what you're expecting to achieve.
Ron, can I offer something?
Go ahead, Rick.
Also, they often ask for milestones, I've noticed. So these are like semi goals that you've accomplished, and so on your way to your outcomes. And I find those very difficult to write. what is a milestone on the way to the end goal. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Yeah. Okay, project manager and documentation, day-to-day tools, Zoom, Teams, Excel, MS, Microsoft Project, volunteers and staff, schedule, tracking reports, task dependency, project key personnel bios. That's important because you're going to outline who's going to be responsible for what their role is, and what their expertise is in relationship to the project. And then you want to deal with timeline. Understand the project scope, outline project tasks, assign timelines to tasks, identify, as Rick said, milestones, outcomes, and reports. All right. Any questions thus far? Any input?
Milestone, I'm sorry, I meant to raise my hand, I apologize.
Go ahead.
Milestones will be the same as outcomes? Is that how milestones are being considered as outcomes? For instance, maybe you're starting a co-op and you have a goal of doing raising the number of people that are members in the co-op. So you've reached a certain level. Is that considered a milestone?
Outcomes are milestones.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I would say that a milestone is something you've achieved on the way to your final outcome. So a milestone could be creating an understandable and application for membership and distributing it, and your goal is 100 members or something like that.
Right. So the milestone is when you get to 100 members?
No,
Or is it the process?
It's the process. Like milestone is going to be, we're going to create and distribute a brief and easy to access application. And then that is a milestone on the way to your outcome, which is, let's say, 100 members.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Okay.
one way to think about it, the milestone is like if you're going to the other side of town, but then on the way to going to the other side of town, you're stopping by a store and you're able to pick up something at the store. So even if like you need to pause before you get to the other side of town, you got something from the store. So like, oh, this is like I was able to at least do something. Like it's kind of like a checkpoint. So is it the milestone? Another way to look at it is almost like a benchmark or just like even like a halfway point of just like we at this point we were able to do something so that it shows that like if someone wants to check your progress, they can know, oh, you at least were able to make it as far as getting it to the store, even if you didn't get to the other side of town yet. So it's like to let you know the progress of things going. And it could be like super substantive, or it can be just kind of like, oh, like we made it to this point. We have a clear understanding, even like having a vision of what the project is, that's a milestone because from that point forward, you'll always have the vision and always be able to do something with it and then be able to like do more from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay.
I was going to add, I see Pam's hand up before I speak. Pam, did you want to say something else?
Well, actually, it's not about milestones. I had another something to add, so you can go ahead. If it's about the milestones.
Oh, I was just, for me, I'm such a data person. Milestone for me would be, for instance, if the outcome is to acquire 1,200 members, and you might have milestones where after 3 months, you've acquired 300 members. And then 6 months, you've got 800 members. So that you're demonstrating the incremental path to the end goal of 1,200. Make sense?
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
all of it makes sense. I see the whole picture of doing it. Because I'm
Okay.
thinking the milestone was the outcome, but now I understand better what the milestone truly is.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it's your increment.
everybody. Yeah.
I was going to say something that we really haven't touched on. Sometimes when you're reading a grant application and it says in order for you to complete this grant, your grant financial, your budget has to be a certain amount. Like say for instance, before you write this grant, your not-for-profit has to at least make like $500,000 a year. There are some grant applications that are like that, but it doesn't say that you cannot complete the grant. What that would be is that you might get a partner. You know what I mean? There are organizations that will partner with you to write grants. And then there are some grants that would say that if you've made $1 million or more, you cannot write a grant. You cannot, you're not going to qualify for this grant. Depends on what the grant is. So also, like if you've just filed the 990 EZ, that means that you're mostly a new organization with, you haven't filed the 990N or just a 990, you haven't made, so there are different nuances like that. So that's why it's good to have partnering organizations with you. So you might not be the lead on that grant. You might get a partner for that grant. I just want to add that.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you. And so again, once you see that you're going after a grant, make sure that you read the eligibility criteria, because that's going to outline all the particulars in terms of what's going to be expected of you as a grant applicant. Or even if you go after our RFP, what's going to be required for you as an organization in terms of responding to RFP. So it's important to read the eligibility context. It's important. All right. All right. So let's talk about solicited proposals. Solicited proposals are scored per the evaluation criteria not read. The structure of the proposal is more important than the prose and readability of the document. Must respond directly to all requirements, be compliant. There's no extra credit for materials that was not requested. So in a solicited proposal, they're going to outline to you what is expected of you and the criteria that they're going to evaluate your proposal under. They're going to outline to you the fact that no extra credit for materials that were not requested. They're going to tell you what's going to be requested of you, what kind of documentation is going to be needed to support your proposal. All right. Then you're going to review request for proposal, read the solicitation at three times before responding. And again, I think that you want to get in the habit of reading the RFP or reading the grant application at least 3 times. So to make sure that you're clear on what the expectations are, what the criteria is that they're going to use to process your grant or RFP, and what they're going to use to evaluate. All right. So in the RFP, username, company profile, legal name of the grant application, 501c3 or 501c6, year the grant applicant was founded, taxpayer reporting ID, EIN number or TIN number. So you got an employee identification number or a tax identification number. Use executive director or board of directors as the primary contact. Federal grant making requires that all grants have a DUNS number, and also a SAMS number. Do anybody know what the SAMS requirement is? Or familiar with the term SAMS number?
Isn't that for the federal government?
Yes, thank you, Marie. Yes, so in order to go after federal grants, you have to have registered with the organization with SANS.
You better get your stuff.
Yeah. So that's, again, the criteria and eligibility requirements. All right. The RFP is laid out in this way. Section A, solicitation contract form F33. Section B, supplies and services and price tools. Section C, performance work statement or statement of work. Section D is packaging and marking. Section E, inspection and acceptance. Section F is deliverables or performance period. Section G is contract administrator's data. H is special contract requirements, key personnel, facility clearance level. Number I is contract clauses. J is list of attachments, key personnel qualifications, the matrix, acronyms list, or Q&A template, cost workbook, including that as well. Section L, instructions, conditions, and notices to offerers. And Section M, evaluation factors for award, unnecessary for sole source acquisition. All right. So if the RFP requested, then we must write it in. So again, the RFP, excuse me, is going to say to you what exactly is needed. Solicit proposal are the basis for buying decisions, response to requirement, sales document, and an offer. So many of you right now at the point where you, again, I'm making an assumption here, aren't at the point where you be large enough to go after RFP. But when you do get to that point that you can solicit and compete for RFP, then that's when you need to make sure that you have the capacity to go after it in a way that's going to be achievable for your organization. We're not at the point where we're ready to go after RFPs, but we are soliciting some government grants, which which allows us to go after some lower tier government funding. But the high tier funding, certainly that's when they're asking for everything from you. And so that's where it gets a lot of competitiveness around the process.
I can tell you what I told you to do. I told you to do a couple of things. I said, go for.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry. We understand. Been there, done that.
All right. So let's go through. And I'm going to send this to you, but I'm going to try to get some things done here. All right. Proposal features, results, and benefits. Map the features and results to evaluation factors. Feature, what unique about your approach? Result, how will the customer end up in a better position after we deliver? Benefit, how does a consumer gain from our feature? This usually lower cost, shorter time, lower risk, higher quality, improved safety, or improved security. Customer benefit category, cost, schedule, quality, risk, safety, security. So these are some factors that that, again, when you're looking at proposals, this is what they look at in terms of for you to consider as you make your way through the process. Program risk, propose mitigation and benefits. Address risk throughout the proposal. Outline your approach for each risk area. Provide proof statements of effectively handling risk in similar projects. State benefit to customer. So again, these are for proposals, solicited and unsolicited proposals. You want to include graphics in it, tables and figures. I think graphics speak a lot to showing an evaluator the content of what you're trying to describe to them in a visual way. So if you're able to include in your proposal some graphics, certainly, or even in your grant application, try to incorporate at least some graphics to show them visually what you're describing. Proposal writing changes the writing paradigm. So, background data, analysis, conclusions, summary. So we invert it. So we have summary, conclusions, analysis, background data. So this is what goes into proposal writing. Again, many of you may not see fit at this time to graph the proposals, but in the event that you do, seize the opportunity to do it. Understand that that the proposal writing is a lot different, has some differences and nuances that don't come with the grant writing application. Okay. Some just writing tips. Writing about what you know is quick and easy. You have lots of detail and substantiation, not what the RFP requires. Usually requires research, thinking, collaboration, and takes time. Writing what the customer wants to see here rather than what the RFP requires. Treating these SWOT task requirements as more important than evaluation criteria. Yes, we must demonstrate how we will deliver our product and service, but all within the framework of how our proposal will be evaluated. Best is the enemy of good. Get the thoughts into a structured outline. Best produces analysis paralysis, and reviews will improve the good. State your ideas simply and precisely. Lead the evaluator through your presentation step by step. Make your compliance apparent. Put key messages, themes, selling points at the beginning of sections. Use subsequent text and graphics to substantiate that message. Write mostly first person plural. Us, we, ours. Does everybody get this? Hmm? All right. Okay. 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 When you're writing, write in the present tense. It's good to write what we do, how we do it, what we understand, individual and corporate capabilities, current customer needs, corporate organization and procedures. Those are the present tense. In the future tense, your plans and specific proposals, what we would do afterwards, future customer requirements. Past tense, individual and corporate experience, anything we did before we received the RFP. Those are the past tense. So you write in present, future, and past tense. Again, when you're writing a proposal. Unsolicited proposals, what are you requesting? Federal Acquisition Regulation subpart 15.6, foundations 990, pre-select charitable organizations, foundations, charitable organizations, local community grants, corporate foundations. So those are unsolicited proposals. And you can make a unsolicited proposal. So you know the difference between an unsolicited proposal and a solicited proposal? Ramona, do you have your hand up?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, unsolicited proposals are just that I have looked at your program, and so I'm writing a proposal to meet your criteria without you having published a proposal. That's an unsolicited proposal. Versus a solicited proposal. All right. What are you requesting? Funding, types of donation, in kind, a quick pro quo donation, restricted donations. Donors are allowed to place additional restrictions on the use of their contribution. That's what restricted donations are. When you have a restricted grant, what does that mean?
It can only be used for the purposes written.
That's right. That's true. Mm-hmm. It only can be used for the purposes they can. That's what restricted. Unrestricted monies are usually hard to come by.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants, the unrestricted.
So true, girl. So true. Everybody wants that unrestricted money that allows me to do what I need to do.
Foundations are mostly less restrictive than government, just as to let you know. It's
Oh,
more,
yeah.
they give you more foundations usually give you more room than government grants, just to let you know.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Okay. We haven't talked about fundraising, and maybe we'll get a chance to do some of that in another session. But fundraising events to solicit funds, check to see if your state imposes registration requirements for organizations wishing to hold charitable events. Some states do. Some, through their charitable divisions, require you to report on fundraising activities. And if you hire someone to fundraise on your behalf, so check your state requirements on that. I'm not going to get into that. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Pre-select charitable organization, foundations. Finding foundations 990. You can find them at the Foundation Center. Here's a link to one of the Foundation Center where you can go in and view the 990s from foundations and see who they funded. Again, this is part of doing your background intelligence to find out what they're funding, who they're funding. Because there may be a similar proposal that you are looking at submitting. Charitable organizations, corporate foundations, local community grants, all these are pre-selected charitable organizations. So you can go to your local community foundations and see what they're funding. Sometimes your state will have a directory of charitable organizations and corporate foundations. All right. Okay. So that's our presentation. So let's engage in some conversation before we end the session this evening. Is anybody in the process of writing a grant now? No one's in the process of writing a grant now?
I actually submitted a grant and I wrote it up by myself. So I'm hoping we get it.
All right.
Because the grant writer I have, she wasn't available. She was doing other stuff for us. She do a lot more bigger grants. So this is like a smaller grant. And I just kind of took the advice she gave me and I just, answered the questions and just hoping for the best.
Mm. Do you recall having gone through any of the checklist items that we talked about earlier about grants?
Say that again.
Do you recall going through the checklist that we first started talking about grants? We did a checklist. Did you go through that checklist? Yeah,
You mean in the
like going through the eligibility criteria.
Oh yes. Yes, I did. I had to submit our EIN number. Um I didn't have to do like DUNS. I had to like let them know what type of corporation I was. I had to upload my articles of organization and different things
Okay.
like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, good luck with that, Antonisha.
Yes. But
Mhm.
we have a physical sponsor, so I had to put the physical sponsor information
Oh,
there as
okay.
well too. Yeah.
Mm. Are you currently applying for 501c3 status, or you're gonna go with a fiscal sponsor for the time being?
I'm gonna go with a physical sponsor for the time being.
Okay.
hmm
Mhm. Anyone else working on a grant or doing some prospecting for a grant opportunity?
Yes, Rod, I'm working on a grant, well, actually, with some of my partners. We have the Good Food Buffalo Coalition. We're working on a grant with the New York Health Foundation and also for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for another set of partners. So a lot of times I co-write grants with partners because That's what a lot of the funders want to see. They want to see that you have a coalition of people that you work with, so that when it
Yeah.
come down to solving problems, you're not trying to solve problems by yourself. You have a group of people there that you may do one part, they may do another part, but whatever they're giving you money for, the problem might be not just necessarily solved, but you might reach your goals faster if you have a group of people that's working with you.
Mhm. Well, a lot of foundations try to build collaborative relationships as a part of their grant writing process. Mhm. So is anyone prospecting for potential grants in 2025?
I've been just, I'm searching through multiple resources right now and partnering, hopefully another collaboration with a group here in Carolina.
Okay. Now, Carol, is your group a 501c3 or
Well, I've got two hats. So I'm the Ella Baker Educational Project, which is the 501c3. And we've partnered with Carolina Commons Enterprises, who are cooperative developers.
oh, okay.
And we've partnered with them. And of course, they also serve as the fiscal sponsor. And that's one of the other things, like what Pam said, if your organization um, has revenues of less than 100,000 a year, or they still see you as small. So if you're going for those larger grants, they definitely this it's far more likely that you'll have success if you're partnered with an organization that's already demonstrated the fiscal management of larger grants. And like you said, having that partner that can help, craft the content of the grant as well as be very much a part of the reporting process, because you got to do those incremental reports as well for those larger grants.
Yeah, it's a capacity issue that they attempt to address. Because if you're not going after large enough grants, it's a question of whether or not you have the capabilities to manage the grant of a certain size. So
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So, so should I make the assumption that everybody else is okay with grant writing? Okay. All right.
Go ahead, can you see her?
This is Doris. Do
Huh?
you need to prepare a plan for the incremental progress report as an outcome of your plan to keep the program going, or in order to sustain or justify receipt of the monies?
Well, they're going to ask
Did
that
I?
question. They, are you, was that your question,
She
Marie?
wanted, she wanted to know whether or not you understood her question.
Because I think she said something about ongoing activity to show that you have ongoing activity ability to to sustain your efforts. Is that what I was hearing?
Is that it, Doris?
Well, the thing that
Let me get the laptop over to her. Hold on. We have you on a monitor.
Oh,
Okay, here we go. All right. Go ahead and ask.
the thing that I want to know is, if you're going to be a service provider, so I'm interested in making a cooperative also of some speech pathologists. And we would like to have a grant to support some early childhood parent groups So in delivering the service, do I need to plan for those incremental progress reports along with making plans to secure more monies? Does that make sense?
Yeah, let me
Because
ask
I'm
you about the
trying to
progress.
divide up my
Let me
duties.
ask you about the progress report. Have they outlined in the grant how many progress reports are going to be expected to submit?
Okay, so we can craft the plan for how often those progress reports are submitted when we write our grant?
No, no,
No.
they're asked for in eligibility criteria. They'll state. I mean, once you get through of the process of getting awarded, then they'll come back and tell you how many reports or how often reports need to be submitted.
Oh,
Probably won't get that up front. You'll get that once they approve your grant, then they'll come back and tell you how many how many reports are going to be due, the format, etc.
okay, that was helpful information. I'm probably going to generate 5 more questions, but that was very helpful information.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No, but your second question was around sustainability, wasn't it?
Yeah, now with the sustainability of a program, if we wanted to keep going, do we need to look for other grant programs, or could that be an extension of what we have?
Well, depending whether or not the funding is multi-year funding or single year funding. If it's multi-year funding, and even with multi-year funding, they're going to still probably ask the question, what is the plans for sustaining this program or project once our funding is depleted?
I see.
So that's a question that will come up.
Okay, that's very good information to hold on to. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Any more comments? All right, folks. Well, you earned yourself an early exit today. But if there's something that does pop up in your radar that you need to get a response to, please feel free to email me. If I can't answer it, I certainly can direct you into the appropriate individual that can answer your questions regarding grants and RFPs. All right.
All righty.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Thank
I
you.
learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.